Welcome here to a very special edition of Presidential Perspective here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Alfred University Saxons. We are here bi-monthly with the president of Alfred University, Mark Zupan, who is connected with some very interesting things happening in the sports world as of today. So the shirt is fitting this, and we'll discuss that and so much more here on the broadcast as we connect once again with the leader of the Saxons. Mark, how you doing today?
Doing great. Had a wonderful weekend out in Arizona with my oldest son, Will. So I watched the Dbacks clinch their first MLB playoff berth since I think 2017. They didn't do it by winning, but they had a strong opponent and other teams lost, but it was still a very joyous occasion. And we lived there for 7 years in the desert and 2001 against the Yankees. So we attended one of those games courtesy of some friends and fond memories.
Yeah, and you just said that you were able to go out there and you were out there when they won the World Series, were able to get to the game and get to see one of the games within that series. What was that experience like? You know, for me being a Diamondbacks fan since day zero, I have to live through you on this one.
We fell in love with them when we lived out there, and it was right after 9/11. The fear of the opening game in Yankee Stadium, George Bush, the then president, threw out the first ball, but it provided a means for the nation to come together. People to see the Dbacks instead win in a seventh and decisive game. We saw one of their wins at home, and it was just great to share that special moment with family. It's some miraculous plays. Both teams played well, but for an upstart, I always root for the underdogs, and for an upstart like the Dbacks to pull it off it'll always remain a special memory.
And you said, with your son living out there in Arizona and you having spent many years out there, what are your fondest memories of the state of Arizona?
He actually now lives in San Francisco, but he flew in. We connected on Friday for the Friday night game, and it's a very entrepreneurial culture. There's some challenges. The first time you go there and you see a sign across the river saying "Relito River," and then you look down and there's no water. This past summer, I think they had 31 straight days of 110 degrees temperature, so have to deal with some climate issues. But the Hughes, the terrific Mexican food, on Saturday, we visited our favorite Mexican restaurant in South Tucson, Minadito, called it's Spanish for My Nest. It's been in existence for 77 years. President Clinton, when he was president, visited it, and they still have a star above where he sat in the restaurant. And the 3 entrees that he devoured that day, it has quite a hearty appetite, but we had some great Mexican food while there. And the next day we were able to go to the Wildcats game. My youngest son, when I was dean of the business school at the University of Arizona, became a huge Wildcats fan. In 1997, the year I joined, Lute Olson and his basketball team won the national championship. And a funny story, they were the underdogs. I think they beat 3 number 1 seeds in getting to that championship. We had made plans several weeks before, thinking there's no way they'll make it to the finals, with some donors at this prominent restaurant to solicit a gift. And then the Cats kept winning, and we still didn't think, and they were called the Cardiac Cats that year, that they would make it to the finals. But lo and behold, they made it to the finals. And we called the donor, an alum, saying, you probably want to reschedule this because we're in the finals. Turned out he hated basketball. And so we still went on with the dinner as planned. We were the only ones in the restaurant. And the only way we knew the Cats had won that night was to see by the sounds that the kitchen staff were making in the kitchen, and then the fireworks going off down in the central part of Tucson. We were up in the foothills. So that was a wonderful memory. My oldest son learned how to shoot free throws from Lute Olson, a legendary basketball coach there. Later on, he was able to connect with him. So we have a before and after picture with 30 years or 25 years in between those 2 episodes. But every place has its own unique features, and we loved our time in the desert. A growing place. When you go to Phoenix, it's amazing the number of cranes. We saw the new TSMC facility, the chip fab in Chandler, Arizona. It's like a crane city out there. Intel's expanding. They have major chip production facilities. We were able to meet with some alums on Friday. So it's just a trip down memory lane, and wore my Alfred University colors to the Arizona basketball game at night on Saturday, and they were playing Washington, 7th ranked team, of course, colors purple and gold. So I was a little bit worried going into the Arizona Stadium wearing purple with gold butts and red to also root for the University of Arizona, and have a photo on social media about wearing both colors, both that going from Alfred University to memories of U of A, flipping the letters in the two schools.
Yeah, no, it's funny how things are very poetic in that respect. And, you made mention of the fact of the opportunity to have that dinner. And, obviously you're sitting here thinking, okay, they've advanced to the championship. Obviously the people here want to see it. And then you find out that this potential donor's like, no, I don't care at all. And then if I were you, I would have flipped back around and said, well, you know what? We rented out this restaurant all for you.
Yeah. I wish I would have had the wisdom and ability to be quick-witted on my feet, but that would have been a much better answer. So,
well, I will tell you this: as different things happen in the sports world, connect with me beforehand, and I'll help you kind of PR move these things. And
I will take you up on that kind offer. So not everybody's as big into sports as you and I are.
Yeah, no, and like you said, I mean, this time around when you went out to spend some time in Arizona, you made the most of it outside of the Diamondbacks game as well. I know there was a picture on social media of, meeting with some alumni and connecting with this Alfred community. I mean, it truly goes coast to coast and even beyond that. Just what that means to you, that when you go out on a trip and, you're going to a Diamondbacks game, and no matter where you are, you have this opportunity to reach out to alumni, do something fun while you're there. It seems like every time you're traveling somewhere, you're reaching out to people, letting them know that you still appreciate them in connection with Alfred University, while you're also kind of living a big kid life and going to games like the Diamondbacks game.
Yeah, it's a great joy. We have close to 100 alums in the greater Phoenix area and the Valley of the Sun. And was able to connect with several of them, as you mentioned. One's a 2007 alumna, very talented individual. She's already started her own company, received a PhD from ASU in molecular science as an adjunct there, has several patents already on disposing of hazardous waste with using her knowledge of material science and ceramic engineering. And then a couple who have been retired out there for at least 17 years. She's a nursing grad of ours, and he's a ceramic engineering grad, married 66 years, just completely in love by the way they communicate with each other, hold hands. They give me a ride back to the airport so I could connect with my son. Very kind of them. And they both went off to the Peace Corps after he got a big retirement package at the age of 50 for IBM. So just committed to giving back. And they traveled the world now with kids and grandkids, but love the U of A, come back for a lot of the reunions, still exercise. I hope I'm as active as they are when I hit 88. They walk every day. They're part of our Saxon racers that come in on bicycles to reunion pretty much every year as of late. So great joy in that, you find out what people have done with their lives with that Alfred University degree, how they've given back to their communities, how they've grown as individuals. And when you have those meetings, it also opens up doors for current students like this alumna lives in Chandler, teaches in Tempe at ASU. She needs interns for her company and also wants to come back to speak with our current engineering students and also our current members of the women's soccer team. She played soccer for us. So it's that connecting that's one of the fun parts of my job.
Yeah, and like you said, these connections that you have all throughout the country, and that you can go across the country and find these Alfred University alumni and be able to just learn about their life, where they are, what they've done, and how they've grown. For you, how rewarding is it to jump on the trail, so to speak, and to reach out? I mean, because some schools, you go in, they kind of care about you kind of a very surface level until you graduate, and then once you're done, they're on to the next group, and they could care less because you're not physically there. with them at that time. You're the opposite. You are reaching out to people that have graduated 20 years ago, 50 years ago, whatever it may be. Why is that so important to you to continue to re-engage the Saxons even after they're done?
Great question, Dan. By and large, the alums want to pay it forward and make the world better, not just directly, but for the next generation to follow. There's this wonderful giver's gain that comes from that. But when you can make that connection, it makes their wishes that much easier to bring into reality. I love to travel, and so that adds to the allure of going out there. And then it's just fascinating the twists and turns people's lives have taken, some challenges, the adversity they've had to overcome. And that's instructive for the next generation too, because nobody's life will be without challenges. And so if you can provide that inspiration of how they've overcome the challenges, it makes it easier for the next generation to say, look, if they can do that, I can do that with whether it's an assignment I currently have for a business class or a physics class, or some relationship difficulty that I'm having with a roommate or a teammate on an athletic team or other co-curricular activity. And one funny story, we had an alum class of 48, lived in the south of France. So he applied to the Ivies, didn't get in. And we found out this was after he made his bequest, that he didn't get in because he had a Jewish surname. And at the time, Ivies had quotas on Jewish students. And he ended up having a successful career in insurance, married a French woman, retired to the French Riviera. And we heard from one of our staff that he was interested in making a bequest for a professorship, endowing a deanship. So somebody had to take one for the team and go to the south of France to meet with this alum, and also get a Southern France alumni club started. So got a chance to meet with him, spend some time with him, and unfortunately passed away. But the legacy he's ended up establishing both a professorship and a deanship. And over the summer, we met with a niece of his who lives in New York City. And she said, I suspect the reason he gave so much, not only loved the experience, but Alfred University didn't have quotas. They were more inclusive. And so that's the value, that's the principle that he wanted to propagate through his gift at Alfred University. And so just, it was a very touching way to see how the value of inclusivity and how it can bring us together and make the world a better place.
Well, I mean, it comes down to something you and I talk about all the time, how you treat somebody the first time, every time, it makes a difference. You could have a great first impression, but maybe the second impression is poor, or, consistency is not there. Somebody feels wanted in, 2023, but in 2025, they come to campus and they don't feel that anybody kind of paid attention. So I think it's not only that first impression that everybody talks about, but it's about consistency. Yeah. A consistency of message, consistency of care, consistency in your case of just having the knowledge and the wisdom of what's going on with people. I mean, when someone's coming to campus, you are able to, and I would even venture to say, when you don't even know they're coming to campus, you become an encyclopedia of Saxons, where what they're doing on campus right now, the people that have been there, and that speaks to your intelligence, it speaks to your mind, it speaks to what you fill your mind with, and it speaks to your heart, because without your heart and mind working together, Mark, there's no way that you are so quickly able to retain and deliver this information. And I know that that's one of the biggest things I took away from you the day I met you face to face, is your ability to speak on so many different people on any subject. You didn't know what we were going to talk about that day. And we talk, I'm talking about Marvel, and you start to speak on Peter Cuneo, and then we go to something else and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, if we're talking equestrian, then this is what this person did, and this is what they did with baseball, and this is somebody that, is working in ceramics. So I have to credit you with that not only do you make the effort to go and visit alumni, but your ability and your care and want to know really differentiates you from a lot of people.
Well, it's a broader thing. It's the values of Alfred, and the more we can live it, it's one of our 3 principles of everybody mattering, and we fall down in that too. We're no exception, and you got to learn. My first year at Alfred, and we'll be visiting this alum in a few weeks in Minneapolis, St. Paul, mathematics grad. first year on the job sends me an email to say, look, I need to talk to you. My wife graduated from a small school in Minnesota. Every year we send both schools $5,000. Every year I get a thank you note from we get a thank you note from their student, but yours has been more sporadic. And so we had to fess up and say, look, we're very sorry for that mistake. We'll do it right going forward. And so we assigned a staff member to make sure we were doing the stewardship right. I had a mentor a long time ago say, getting the gift is like an iceberg. It's 5% of the battle. It's the one above the surface. 95% is stewarding. And there's an old quote from Ben Franklin that if you want to find somebody to give you money, ask the person who's given it to you before. But the critical link is you've got to be stewarding that gift before. So we started thanking the person appropriately and his wife. In 2019, they made a $2.1 million commitment to a professorship in mathematics, substantially up their giving to the mathematics department. He became a major exec at Texas Instruments. And also their professorship is a bequest, but they've started to bring it to life early. They have the means to do it. And just so instilling in all of us that even when we mess up, how do we do right by the people, and how when somebody benefits, whether it's a scholarship or a professor, saying thank you, that this gift has mattered. That'll inspire future philanthropy.
Absolutely. And a final note here to come full circle, being out in Arizona, you spoke about being a part of the World Series run for Arizona, quickest team to get to the World Series, quickest team to win in 4 years. And you got to experience that. Getting to see them now go back to the postseason for the first time in 6 years and be on site to live within how this team is performing right now over 2 decades later. What's that done for you as bookends?
Memory lane, and just it's a young team. So to see again an underdog, they were, I think, 2 games under 500 for a while this summer, and then they've been on a run as of late. And when the Wildcats Arizona won the NCAA championship, they had a rough season, but putting it together at the right time. Injuries can also play a role, that you can be on top of the world and then all of a sudden you have that challenge emerge. So hope springs eternal, and definitely rooting for the Dbacks, the Wildcats, for the football season. And then most of all these days for the Saxons across all our different sports. Our women's tennis team remains off to one of its best starts ever. We had a great win at Catholic University in football. We'll be back in action this coming week for homecoming on Saturday, so looking forward to that. And our equestrian team had a high points performance over the past weekend. So a broad range of activities, and it's fun to have this banquet of opportunities for our students and our broader community.
That coming from the president of Alfred University, Mark Zupan, who has more frequent flyer miles than probably your entire family combined. So
my oldest son is rapidly catching up. There's a lot of travel for Cisco.
That's good. But as always, Mark, I appreciate your time, appreciate everything that you share with the Saxons, and your love and appreciation for the entire community of Saxons. And who knows, Mark might be out in your neighborhood next to come and see you and pay you a visit. And I love the fact that somehow, some way, you continue to show me how small this world is, as you're at a Dbacks game and I'm seeing it on my timeline going, 2 things. Number 1, that's incredible of all the teams you could go see because it's my favorite. And number 2, where's my ticket, Mark? So,
yeah, we'll have to figure out a way to get a group together, because they still have that swimming pool in the outfield, and maybe celebrate their next World Series win in our swimsuits.
Absolutely. It'll be a good time. So as always, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Presidential Perspective with the president of Alfred University, Mark Zupan. Mark, safe travels, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Dan, best for the new week.